All right, it is Surah recitation time again. It has been a while, probably at least 2 months, maybe longer since we've done one of these. But one of my goals, or one of our goals maybe, is to get through every single one of these surahs. There's a lot of them. There's 114, but we're slowly chipping away at them.
What is a surah? What is it, real quick?
It's a chapter in the Quran. It's a piece of the Quran, and these recitations are people who use their voices in an interesting, what seems like a poetic way to try and...
Is it singing?
Say the Quran
Are they
verse.
singing it?
No, it is not singing. It's definitely
Should I
not
be
singing.
careful not to identify it as singing?
Yes.
Okay.
But we're going to take a look at a quick one here, one of the shorter ones. This is Surah Al-Ma'n. I don't know if that's how you say it, but it's chapter 107 of the Quran. It's a quick one here. We're going to take a look at this and react.
All right.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أرأيت الذي يكذب بالدين فذلك الذي يدع اليتيم ولا يحض على طعام المسكين فويل للمصلين الذين هم عن صلاتهم ساهون الذين هم يراءون ويمنعون الماعون.
All right, now before we get into the verses that we just watched there, I have some questions for the audience out there, because when I was looking for surahs to do a recitation for, I noticed that like a ton of people had done Surah 55. It's like a popular one. There clearly seems to be like popular verses that get done as recitations, and then other ones that don't seem to be as popular getting done. And I'm curious about, is there like an accountability thing here when you do a recitation? Like it's not safe to just recitate every scripture, because it's now like it's a public thing that people do, and now you've put like the onus of that scripture on yourself, that you will be like the person that upholds it and keeps it. It's like someone who is like going around and they're saying one thing, you know, how to be, well, you better be like that or you'll bring like curses upon yourself. I'm just curious about how the Islamic audience sees that out there. Do you guys... like, does it matter? Can anyone just, like, who's practiced in doing this, can anyone just get up and do it? Or is there, like, you know, you got to get training, and then when you do it, it has to, like, you start with, like, safer verse ones, and then, like, only, like, the best of the best ever get to do, like,
Very
some
good
of
question.
the harder ones.
Very good question, because it reminds me of like in church. Remember when communion, that's when they bring out the grape juice or sometimes wine and like a wafer or a cracker, and you symbolize eat it the Last Supper.
Yeah.
And they're like, don't do that if you don't have any unrepented sins. Remember there was something like that?
Yeah.
It's kind of, that's what it's making me think of.
Yeah.
Like, is it a curse unto you if you do this without the proper authority or without from? That's a good question.
Yeah.
If we could answer that.
Yeah. So there's a question for the audience. Now let me put on my old man glasses just to read through this, because some of the words that were said in there are a little bit different in the translation that I have. So it's really quick. I'll read it. And it says, in the name of Allah, the gracious, the merciful, have you considered him who denies the religion? It is he who mistreats the orphan and does not encourage the feeding of the poor. So woe to those who pray, those who are heedless in their praise, those who put on the appearance and withhold the assistance. So there's two things going on, I think, in this verse. And one of them seems to be the idea of authentic in what you're going around, you know, proclaiming about your faith or whatever. There's an authenticity here. But the bigger one that kind of stuck out to me is in the first two verses where it says, have you considered him who denies the religion, which I'm assuming here is Islam? It is he who mistreats the orphan. So to me, it's kind of like painting those in a picture. Like if you're not religious, or if you don't believe in Islam, there's going to be like a bad aspect about you. You're not going to be able to do good or something. And I just want to come from my own experience here, man, is like one of the things that actually really changed my heart was realizing when I was like a Christian, was realizing that there are other people out there that don't believe in any God or any gods, and they're doing way more better things than me or you. There's lots of people. It doesn't require a faith or a religion in God to do acts like feeding orphans or taking care of people or doing good things. By exposure to other people who are outside of my personal religious bubble, that is like one of the things that kind of like opened me up that it might be something bigger going on here.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. You know, because it gets overlooked, right? If you're religious or whatever, right?
Yeah. For a long time in my life, I thought, you know, like I can't trust anyone outside of this belief system.
Well, because it's kind of taught. It's like, what was it taught? That's why the Matrix was so significant, I think, probably to a lot of young, youthful Christians. Maybe I don't know. But I'm saying because they treated the agents. The agents were like demonic. You could make the correlation, and that everybody that wasn't saved or everybody that wasn't woke up from the Matrix was just a potential agent. Because remember, if you weren't woken up, the agents could possess you. Yeah, you were almost like an NPC if you weren't, a non-player character.
Yeah, yeah.
If you weren't saved, in the blood, you know what I mean. And so, think about that. Think of the diluted attitude of that. That's like, you know, if they're not saved, then they're of their father, the devil.
Yeah, yeah.
And then it seems real obvious, right? Like that's a pretty obvious epiphany that not everybody that's your religion does good things. Like there's people that like give lots of money, but where it gets not so obvious, and this is common to everybody, this is where it bleeds outside the realm of religious ideology or religious indoctrination, is that everybody justifies things that are useful to them and what they've dogmatically established. Like, let me put it plainer than that.
Yeah.
Everybody would go, yeah, so what that guy gives, though? That's a front. That's how clever the devil is. That he would actually, that's even more perverse, that he would do good. Really be
more sophisticated
background.
Yeah.
That's how crazy it gets, and it's real obvious if you can see clearly. Then like all that stuff it's like some pretty obvious epiphanies. But if you're in it, it's not obvious, and you know, and you need mercy. You actually need grace and mercy because you're doing it. You're participating. If you're in it, you're participating in that kind of diluted viewpoint.
Yeah, my recommendation is exposure to people that are not whatever you are. People who aren't doing the thing that you're doing, who are different people of different faiths, different belief systems. Saturate yourself in other ideologies. Just don't go on, swapping out one for another. But that will broaden perspective.
We were talking about time this morning, right? And things and the pace at which things change. And sometimes there's a huge radical change, and sometimes people change slowly. And if you think about your own spiritual walk, you know what I mean? Like, when I was leaving organized religion, like that way of thinking and seeing the world, I remember it was in small steps. It would be somebody I could take, like something I could handle, like somebody that's like, I'm not saying I'm not a Christian anymore. I'm just saying, isn't this a little weird? And then you'd be like, yeah, I agree it's weird. Oh, but I'm not saying I'm not. Oh, of course. I'm not saying I'm not a Christian. But it is weird. And then over years that becomes, and then you got to be aware, like we just let the cat out of the bag. Somebody out there is writing that down going, got to watch out for that because that's how it happens. You know what I mean? Now we got to build safeguards against that. But the good thing about philosophy is that it emerges everywhere. it's the blueprint to get out of the prison always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a positive message in here. I agree with authenticity. Why would you go around like giving an appearance of something that you're not? Seems obvious.
Because survival. Because that's how survival works.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and it could also be like your acceptance into the pack, which is survival. Yeah. Which is, that is a thing. Like even myself, that is like a full-time gig, just like observing that, slowly working on that. It doesn't just like, oh, I fixed that. No one ain't gonna ever fix that. It's like a slow process, I think. Maybe there's some people who can get out of that mode, quicker than others, but I ain't one of them. That's something that I'm working on. But that's all I got for this one. I don't know if you want to add anything else to this.
I don't know if it's appropriate to this, or if we're starting to run long.
Yeah.
We've got an interview after this, but
yep.
I was thinking about, you get breadcrumbs. Even if you can't see the forest for the trees, or you can't recognize the water because you are a fish, you get little clues along the way. And even when I was totally like immersed in organized religious belief and stuff like that, there would be depictions of a progress away from that. And I think about like the stereotypical, like, because you were talking about, I'm in it. I have to, I'm doing things based on survival, and I conform in all these different ways, and I'm working on seeing it. You know what I mean? But you think about the depictions of people in life, and it's like, oh, he went off and he left the small town. There's the small town, salt of the earth, good people that work hard, and they're quirky. You got a crazy Bill, the mechanic who's always at the bar or something like that. I'm not suggesting mechanics. I just picked a trade or whatever. But this guy's he goes to the bar after work, or this person's the town teacher, or this is the town preacher. We get what's going on, preacher? You still don't drink nothing, eh? And then there's the guy that breaks free. Oh, big Hollywood. People call him Hollywood, even though all he did was move to Toronto. And they call him Big Hollywood. You got a Hollywood haircut now. You're the big shot. And maybe he actually, or she, makes something of themselves. And then people kind of are taken back a little bit. Well, I got to admit, they actually made a success of themselves. Yeah, but have you seen them lately? Why? What's going on? They grew their hair long and they've got flowers draped over their shoulder. They sold their business. What an idiot. Just when they had our respect, they sold their business. And then a few months later, it goes, yeah, you seen the old flower child there? No. But you know what's crazy is I in the wake of all that, I started building up my business, and it's starting to feel empty. I don't know what to do next. Yeah. Anyway, what happened to the guy that was draped in flowers? Weirdly enough, he stopped adorning himself and all that hippie shit and going on those retreats to do ayahuasca. Well, what's he up to now? Now he's really just sort of calm and quiet. He does crafts, and he tries to volunteer his time a little bit. Yeah. Interesting. Anyway, that's just another pretension. Where it's really at is complete denial of all those things, and now you're wearing the flowers. Following in the footsteps of clearly a process. Yeah. Clearly a process that's going on, and a shifting from one thing to the other. Yeah. At one revelation to the next. All the way to somebody that wants to give all of it up because they see through all of it. Each of these systems, each of these emerging stages or whatever. You know what I mean? Maybe was that a boring rant? We can cut that out.
Hey, I think you give something to think about there. We'll end it here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed our reaction on this recitation. Let us know what you thought in the comments. Hopefully you liked this. If you did, don't forget to like, subscribe, share this with a friend, and everyone till next time. Stay spiritual.